And a very good morning to you. Welcome along to Wednesday morning's OTB AM. We're here all the way until about 9:30 this morning. As ever, if you want to get in touch, you can leave a comment on whatever stream you listen to. And a reminder that if you just want us to be a breakfast radio accompaniment, if you don't want to see our ugly mugs in the morning, then all you got to do is go over to offtheball.com and click on the listen live button, and then you can minimise that and go about your business, and we'll be part of your background. So you're very welcome along if you're, however you are consuming us this morning. Also very welcome this morning is Kenny Cunningham. Kenny, how the hell are you?
Yeah, all good, yeah.
Your love of box sets blew up on the internet last night. Everybody's like, oh, Kenny's a 24 man.
Are you? What a show. I completely missed this clip. I did not see you talking about 24 last night.
Yeah, I don't know how it came into the conversation, actually. Still don't know how it came into the conversation.
We're revisiting The Sopranos because it was 20th anniversary this week, and Owen had never really got beyond 2 episodes.
Yeah, basically. I don't think I was...
One series? You haven't sat through one series of The Sopranos?
No, I'm doing it now, though, and it is excellent. I must say...
It was 3 when it came out.
It hasn't got to 24 level just yet. 24 was the first box set I ever...
24 was huge. Yeah,
24 was
massive.
unbelievable.
The lads talked it down last night, actually, though. The lads kicked the stool from underneath me last night when I brought it up.
Don't listen to them, Kenny. We know that 24 is better than anything else that's ever been created.
I know, I mean...
Joe, it was. That's what it was. Yeah, he couldn't give the old tut-tut when I threw it out there. As if like him. 24, how predictable you enjoyed 24. That type of attitude he threw at me.
Kind of intellectual snobbery.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
Classic Joe.
Well said, Owen. Well said. Exactly what I was thinking.
But The Sopranos is better, right? I mean, come on, Kenny.
Yeah, I think, I would lean to what, but 24 was like fast moving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And also,
literally.
24 is very. I don't know. When did you get into it? I was going to say, if it was a box set, you weren't watching it at the time. So when did you get into it? It
was a couple of years after, actually. I would have been in most things. I'm a little bit late arriving on the scene, but back in the day, so I would have been
a bit like your football career. What?
Arriving late at the back post. Never arriving at the back post.
Sorry, it's too good an opportunity.
Fair point, Jeff. Fair point.
That hurts.
You can't say no. It doesn't. It doesn't.
Here,
no one's fair. No one's fair.
Pádraig Amond ripping up the FA Cup. Another amazing goal from him last night, and they're going to get Manchester City in the next round, which is I'm delighted for them because they were a bit like, oh great, we got Middlesbrough. Fabulous when we talked to them after. But so it's brilliant. But this kind of late career flourishing of players like Pádraig Amond, this is the only reason I can see to be interested in the Cup anymore.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I've got to be honest. I don't think I've watched any FA Cup football. That could well have been the first time last night I was watching. I had an eye on the Middlesbrough game last night. The pitch, you see the pitch? It like heavens have opened an hour and a half before the game. Absolute mud bath. I was just waiting for kind of Ronnie Radford to make an appearance sometime in the second half. Do you remember that? The old famous Ronnie. It's a Ronnie Radford FA Cup goal for Newcastle. No, that's it. He plays a 1-2, balls bobbling everywhere, and this out of nowhere hits from 40 yards, top corner, fans on the pitch, rattlers in the air. Wasn't quite 1940s. I think
for Hereford against Newcastle.
Hereford Newcastle. Was it Ronnie Radford?
71-72.
Must remember that. Oh, Jay, you've let yourself down there. That's all time.
The mud makes an FA Cup tie.
Whoa! What a goal.
Back then, I think that's the traditional...
Thunder bastard. Good goal. Sorry,
great goal.
I'm watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't. I'm surprised you don't remember it.
I'm too young. What the hell are you talking about?
But I had that feeling last night, even watching the game, and obviously the lads, I think John Harrison was commentating, and it really kind of, you know what I mean, feeding into it. Oh, conditions. This is FA Cup. What it's all about. Middlesbrough gonna be up for that. They're not up for it. You can tell. But you could sense it early on. Fair play to Newport. Played the conditions better from what I saw early in the game. No, I'm delighted for them, and I'm delighted for the players, even the bit of exposure that they get. I've said like I've lost a lot of enthusiasm for the FA Cup, and I have done sadly, but still it's great for the smaller teams and the players in particular. You know, professionals who spend most of their careers kind of in the shadows, really, in terms of eking out a wage from the game. But you know, on occasions such as this, you know, get a little bit of exposure, which they deserve. So yeah, delighted for the club and the lad in particular. But on a general level, I just literally cannot roll out my bed and switch on an FA Cup tie.
You didn't even watch Arsenal Manchester United 2 weeks ago.
I watched that one because I was genuinely interested in the game in terms of Solskjaer, how he was going to set up the team, and I felt both teams would put out strong teams in that particular game. So I did watch that game for different reasons though. But yeah, it's a shame really. I'd have to admit it, yeah, it's a shame. I just can't just can't muster up the enthusiasm for me. It's just it's lost its magic.
Do we need to start revisiting the value of careers that people like Pádraig Amond are having, and start thinking that actually in the future it's going to be Championship players and League One players mostly that are players who go from Ireland end up having those types of careers, that the days of players having routine Premier League careers from an Irish perspective are over?
Oh no, I wouldn't go as far as that, Ger. That's a little bit too pessimistic. I mean, that's kind of indicates that there's no talent pool of players whatsoever.
It's not the talent pool, it's that the competition is so intense that like we're the best. Yeah, no,
I agree. Yeah.
The best under 15 is now from Cork and Dublin are now not up against Manchester and Liverpool. They're up against Lagos and Brazil, and like they're up against everywhere in the world.
Yeah, no, it's true. In terms of that pathway for young Irish players, it's more difficult than it ever has been. But I'm always encouraged just purely by terms of the talent pool of players that we have, and I do always genuinely feel, you know, talent comes through in the end. So whether they've got to go a different route to get there in terms of actually ply their trade at a lower level for a longer period of time, whether players actually have to forge their career actually over in the League of Ireland going forward, that'd be something I hope may well be the case going forward. I know we spoke about an article there in Niall in the papers this morning in terms of some big ideas in terms of restructuring the League of Ireland situation over here, and that's interesting because, you know, I think the pathway of actually forging a career at League of Ireland level for a number of years and using that as a springboard to get yourself across the England Championship or even higher, I think that's a viable alternative for players and will be going forward. But that'll only be the case if we've got the right structures in place over here, and we can actually offer players something over here to say, look, forget about jumping across Division 2 football there, stay here. You'll get some good coaching over here, good level of football, good young talent playing around you, and you're going to develop and actually improve as a League of Ireland player as opposed to, you know, jumping ship too early.
One question I always had about that was you hear so often about players who, you know, they'd be a better player in a better team, and is this a real thing? Like, are there players who might struggle in the Championship or in League One who could actually play in a good team in the Premier League? Is that a real thing?
I think in some cases it can, yeah, in terms of the quality of players and quality of coaching, I'd suggest as well. And now we talk about get the structures in place, improved facilities and all those type of things, you know, better training ground facilities, and yeah, to a point, that is fair. But for me, it's all about quality coaching is absolutely huge, particularly for a young player developing the ages 12, 14, 16. The quality of coaching that you get on a day-to-day basis on the training pitch for me is absolutely huge. And if you've got players around you of a certain level as well, and you're working with them on a daily basis as well, almost through a period of process of kind of osmosis, really, you know what I mean? You just absorb things in.
Culture.
Naturally, yeah, exactly, exactly, your working environment. So all of those things do matter. I know talk is cheap, and we've been talking about it for a long time, but it's interesting. That kind of story's come up a couple of times. I know Niall spoke, I've read it a couple of times, and it is very interesting because I've always felt the way forward, potentially, maybe not a natural break between the FAI and the league over here, but I've just felt something run on a commercial basis with the amount of people that we have over here, the amount of successful businessmen who love their sport, very sharp, very bright, obviously keen to get involved and have got themselves involved over years in terms of the guy, even in the hurling over here, and even to a certain extent the international scene as well. If somebody could tap into that and pull all of that together, whether it's Niall or somebody else, I'm still convinced we've got a vehicle over here to have a successful and flourishing like a kind of product, a League of Ireland product. So.
But that is the thing, isn't it? It's the divorce of the FAI from the League of Ireland, and how likely are the FAI to just say to someone like Niall Quinn, that's fair enough, we're going to let somebody else take over the League of Ireland?
I don't think they wanted the league in the first place, so they had to
I'm not saying they don't, I'm just asking the question.
But originally when it happened, like, the league was a complete basket case. That's why they stepped in to take it over. Like, the clubs were going bust because they'd wasted money they didn't have on wages.
Yeah, I don't see it in those terms. For me, it's all about the League of Ireland. Can it flourish? Can it get better? Can it be a better environment for the players? Whether that's with an obvious attachment to the League of Ireland, or there needs to be like the attachment or a fracture between the association and the league. For that to happen, for me, I'm actually not overly bothered as long as we get to the place where we need to be. And this isn't the case of picking up the stick and banging over the heads of the FAI. It's whatever's best. If that means a close involvement with the FAI going forward, great. If not, if the league's going to flourish without that, actually put a distance between the association. It's really whatever works like.
Yeah, okay. There was one other thing we wanted to talk about. Kenny walked in and picked up the American football and went, Jesus, I'm really glad I didn't end up staying up to watch the game, that you thought about it for a minute, and then he was like, oh yeah, you're going to bore me now about how it was a tactical. And then I was like, just a quick question, Kenny. What
I was angry at myself because I allowed myself to get sucked in because I watched a bit of the semi-final. That's not even right. It doesn't even sound like a semi-final. Yeah, semi-final. You know what I mean? I was in my pal's house in Dublin. He's a nut. He loves it. So I watched the first half of the Saints and the Rams. Really enjoyed it. Went really quick. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, I thought, oh yeah, that was they had to go. I'll leave you to it. So the final was on the house. It was in London, and I saw it advertised, and it just, whereas before I'd be like total disregard, no chance of staying up watching that. For a couple of seconds I thought, do you know what? Shall I stay up? Shall I stay up and watch that? Kind of mulled it over for a few seconds. No, I won't. Thank God. Thank God. From the reports that I heard, that was horrible.
But you come in and you started bashing the sport because of one poor game. That's not
because I was angry. I allowed myself to dream a little bit. But it's like one of those moments everyone must have had them. You know, you just think after the event, say a sport event or anything else, you think, oh, thank God I did. Thank God I didn't stay up to it. You know, one of those moments. You must have had a few of them. Have you had one? You must have one of them, some sporting occasion you thought, I'll buy a ticket or I'll go and see that, or I won't. And you think, oh, thank God I didn't hang around for that. It was one of those moments.
So what other sort of moments has that happened to you for?
No, don't put it all on me. I'm throwing it to you. I'm throwing it to you.
Your negativity is like a big dark cloud of doom over.
What are you coming back with? What are you going to say? Did you really enjoy the final? You obviously stepped up to watch it.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that your negativity towards the sport.
I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked outside. What did you think of the 0-0 draw in the Champions League final between Milan and Juventus that goes to penalties? I don't know.
It's a poor comparison. Yeah, I said it to you already. I think that's a poor comparison in terms of the average score during American football. You mentioned it was expected about
56 points.
50 points. I mean, a 0-0 draw is hardly equates with a 0-0 draw in football. I don't think that's a fair comparison.
It's a final.
I just couldn't understand how a team. This is a final, right? This isn't like a third division American football, like college outfit turning up against the Patriots.
Yeah,
this is a top-class team.
Exactly, top-class
defense.
How can you only muster?
I've seen lads kick the ball over the bar from like 50, 60 yards.
You of all people should appreciate a good defence. That's what was on the pitch. And I'm not saying I enjoyed the game.
Genius coaching.
Yeah, but it's not in football as if in the halfway line you can start shooting, you can start registering points in football from the half. You can in American football. You can literally kick the ball huge distances.
Unless the defence is so good that you can't get into that position.
Why weren't they accumulating points?
Their kicker actually had his foot in a walking boot for the whole week. He was injured basically, and so he missed one at the end, which would have made 6 points, and there would have been a touchdown, 8-point difference in it, so whatever it was. Yeah, but I think my 0-0 draw. You said
at least can say this to me. This was horrible.
It was a bad game.
Thank you.
It wasn't great.
But I'm not talking down the game completely. I'm not trashing the whole game.
You said that 0-0 draw was an all-time great. Was it? What did you say about it? The 0-0 draw?
No, I loved it. I said I loved the game. It was a fantastic game. Two top quality teams going at it tactically, spot on, high quality in terms of technical levels.
We need to get you on the basketball bandwagon.
Tommy's just reminded me of this. There was a 3-3 Barca-Bayern game a couple of years back, and you're like, no, that was a terrible game. I remember now. The 0-0 is your thing.
Jared, come on. Surely you're not going to start making the argument, plenty of goals in a game constitutes a wonderful game.
You just made that
football. I mean, if you're going to start making that, if you're going to start making that
argument, the NFL game.
No, you're going to start football. We're talking now. Two totally different fights. The comparison's a poor one. Joe did the same thing a couple of weeks ago in relation to basketball. Start making comparison in relation, which is the same in terms of the scores that you can accumulate in basketball as opposed 0-0 in football, basketball you get. I mean, it's ridiculous, really, isn't it?
It's not really.
Oh,
the millennials love this. Here's what's coming up. So we're going to talk about the Six Nations around about 8:45. Our big reveal coming around about 8:35 this morning. King Kenny talking football around about 25 past 8. Darren Cleary is going to be in about 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we'll talk you through what's in the newspaper headlines this morning. So, who was that man? Yeah.
That wasn't a big revel. That wasn't at 8:35. Oh, those
reveal,
big,
the big sweets.
like minstrels, right? Minstrels, were they? Revels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minstrels and Revels are brother and sister.
What's the difference?
Well, Revels had a raisin in the middle, didn't they?
No, Revels there was a mixture.
Oh, you couldn't tell?
Exactly, yeah.
Ah, that's why I got fed up with them.
Kind of more
Or five
nut-based,
of
wasn't it? Revels?
There was a mixture. So you got like...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
You got your minstrel, you got your, like...
Raisin.
And there was other things.
You used to get them...
Fudge.
They were in your, like, selection box, the Revels, that, you know, the stockings.
Yeah.
You know, that's...
Yeah, so you got a little...
The slightly disappointing...
Yeah.
But you not just have got me Cadbury's selection box.
Yeah, Revel is like the 27th of December, sort of...
Agreed.
Like
bargain
No, I
bucket.
think we can all agree on that. Ireland need to find a plan C if they want to reach a World Cup semi-final. It's the silhouette of Jacob Stockdale in the back. As Tom Reddy, as Henry Slade scores England's fourth last week, and then ticket touting rampant, rather than the Six Nations. €419,000 for sale on Viagogo. That's a report from The Guardian this morning. Keith Earle says he was hit late twice by Maro Itoje, but doesn't want to linger on it. And then there's a story about Trevor Francis, the first £1 million player to move when he moved to the Forest in '79. Was Trevor Francis a good player? I don't really remember him that much.
Oh, little bit before my time, but I remember watching a little bit of him play. Yeah, fantastic player, dribbler, technical qualities as well.
Who after him? Who would you compare him to?
It was difficult because he was quite tall, Trevor, like 6 foot, because he used to live in I remember speaking to him, a bit of a funny old character, Trevor, to be honest with you.
How so?
Yeah, a little bit kind of... I didn't know him too well, to be honest with you, but the time that he played, he would have played, football, rah. He played that era of football, but kind of quite well-spoken. Trevor, wouldn't have been one of them I wouldn't have thought in the dressing room, in with the crowd, so I maybe stood aloof a little bit from the crowd. Did he play abroad for a number of years, Trevor?
I don't know, actually.
He strikes me the type of player could have flourished on the continent.
So what you're saying that
he played in America?
Maybe a little bit of the Eden Hazards, physically being a different type. In terms of technical ability.
Wow.
And considering the type of pitches, as they played on back in the day, and in terms of how the game was played, in terms of tackling, etc.
So he's a hard man on the pitch, but not so much off it.
No.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I wouldn't say a hard... No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Have you been listening to what I've been saying at all? I said he was well-spoken. That's
what I mean, as in like...
Hazard. Where did the hard man come from?
Well, no, I mean the rah on the pitch.
That was the era.
The era. So he was kind of an anomaly in the era.
A bit dainty.
Right, okay.
Trevor, a little bit dainty, that he would have been described.
That fits the description perfectly.
I'm trying to dig you out here. I'm trying to dig you out a little
thank
bit.
you for that.
Oh, he played for Atalanta for a season. And Sampdoria. He play for Sampdoria. I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Just flourished over there, actually, Sampdoria. Graham Souness would have arrived on the scene as well. Did Graham play with him? I say Graham as if obviously I'm on first name terms with Graham, but obviously not.
Yeah, so he went for Sampdoria. He did, yeah. He won the cup in the same team as Souness.
That was it.
First time they'd ever won a cup. Then he joined Atalanta for 800 grand. So they obviously thought he was worth some money. Solskjaer makes the case to be permanent Manchester United boss, and Quinn Roux set to start as Ringrose and Toner out of the Scotland clash. Toner and Ringrose, not a great combination to be losing. Like the key for your defence at 13 and the man who calls your lineouts. So yeah, that's not great news for Ireland ahead of the Scotland game. We're not a bad team overnight. Earls hits back at Ireland's critics and Kieran Shannon's stuttering start. But 2019 can still be golden year for Ireland, and he makes a comparison with the years at year 2000.
Year 2000, we get absolutely destroyed by England in the first game, 50 points to 18. So that was under Warren Gatland.
What happened in the Scotland game?
Scotland game, we absolutely hammered Scotland. Then the second week out, there was a week break back then. Beat them 44 points to 22. Brings in a raft of changes, like new halfback pairing in Rog and Stringer, and a number of other things that are changed throughout that day, and they play a lot better, and they win. Obviously, they go to Paris then after that, and Brian O'Driscoll scores that try, and then they lose. And then they lose to Wales at home.
How do you remember all that? Did you say back in 2000?
He read it this morning in the paper.
Oh, literally.
I didn't read it this morning. It's right off the top of my head.
You were 2.
It's right off the top of my head.
Am I giving you too much credit there?
I wasn't 2 in 2000.
That's harsh, Jerry. That's
really hard. Like the ageism that goes on in the studio is disgusting.
He knows his rugby on. I'll give him that. He does know his rugby.
What age are you?
Come on.
It's 5.5.
Okay, 5.5. Nichols banking on Clan to blaze the trail. Paul Nichols yesterday outlined his hopes and dreams for securing an 11th trainer's title, while also warning his rivals Clan des Obeaux, the King George VI chase hero, and leading Magner's Cheltenham Gold Cup contender, Bulmers, was ready to join the select band of superstar chasers. So that's that. And then top spot in sight for title favourites. Manchester City are now the shortest price of any team to win the league. They are odds on, and Liverpool slight odds against.
I'm going to start with the Times Ireland edition this morning. We are putting our place, admits Earls, on the back of the paper here this morning. You've also got that photograph of Padraig Amond there, and that Niall Quinn story, which we may touch back on a little bit later on. Dare to dream, we can improve. So he's been speaking over the last couple of days, and he wants a figure north of €100 million over a 5-year period. That's what he thinks is necessary to put his dream for Irish football into reality. Just to touch on one story on the inside of the paper, Matt Dickinson writing this morning in the Times that stakes high at Doctors' Tribunal. It'll be covered across most of the papers, particularly in the UK this morning. That is because the tribunal of Dr. Richard Freeman begins in Manchester today. So he resigned from British Cycling 16 years ago. He's alleged to have ordered testosterone in May 2011. So 30 sachets of Testogel showed up in his offices, and he's got to prove that it wasn't for performance-enhancing reasons. That tribunal starts today. It reminded us of this image when his book arrived into the office last year. Of course, Dr. Richard Freeman is at the centre of the Jiffy Bag scandal, and the Jiffy Bag was what contained the line where medicine and sport collide by Dr. Richard Freeman last year. The back page of the Mirror this morning is ruthless. Guardiola urges his City stars to keep on banging in the goals in case their Prem title defence goes to the wire. And it's the same story on the back of the Star this morning. City won't crack. Pep turns up the title heat on nervy Liverpool. You've also got an FA story here asking Klopp to explain ref views. So he's been asked by the Football Association to submit an explanation for his criticism of referee Kevin Friend after Monday's draw against West Ham.
What did he say?
It was weak. I've got to be honest, it was really weak.
Klopp said, we had good moments coming through the channels and scored the goal, which I've now been told this is offside. This explains a little bit the second half, because he knew for sure at half-time, and then you saw a lot of strange situations. They were not decisive, but just rhythm breakers that obviously didn't help us. As a human being...
The referee even ended up because he gave an offside goal.
Yeah,
you got to kick. He's got to just shut up and get on with it, because it didn't come across great, very kind of negative, like, you know what I mean?
The other story here on the back page is Sam a big fan of Rice. So I'm not sure Sam Allardyce stabbing Ireland in the back, you know, and his counterparts.
What's he doing? I can't understand. Like, surely he'd be like, go on, sign for Ireland, no?
He hasn't committed for Ireland yet. England should play him quickly, very, very quickly, says Sam Allardyce. So screw you, Sam. Basically.
Yeah, go back to your pint of wine there, Sam.
Back to the Irish Daily Mail is Hazard closes in on £100 million Real deal. Kenny Cunningham shows his eyes to heaven not having this.
No, I just wish he'd get on and do it. I'm just sick of reading about it.
Back page of the Herald.
He knows what he wants now. So do we.
Cup King Amond, Irish ace Padraig is the toast of Newport again, with goal to set up Dream City tie and move to get the dubs out of Croker. We were speaking about this a couple of weeks ago, that Donegal had proposed a motion that no team can play their home game in the Super 8s in Croke Park. That motion will go to Congress this month on February the 22nd. It is going to be interesting to see if that one does pass. It does need 60% to get through. I think this one is going to be one of the really tight ones.
I mean,
what's the general consensus there? Obviously, don't want Dublin playing any of those games.
You know what happened last year? Dublin ended up getting 2 games in Croker, and everybody else got 1 game in Croker. Right. And everybody says, well, that's unfair because it's Dublin and they're in Croker and they're in Croker twice. Like, the rules are supposed to be there's a Croke Park game, an away game, and a home game, and Dublin have a Croke Park game, and an away game. If they changed the designation of the Croke Park game to a neutral game, everybody would have a neutral game, a home game, and a Croke Park game, except the team who plays Dublin. Now, Dublin aren't going to be allowed to have a home game in Croker, and Dublin might end up having to play Mayo in Portlaoise or Clonus or, Belfast if they build that stadium at some point, or Cork or Killarney.
It depends. If Mayo win the Connacht Championship, it's not going to be against Mayo. So
whoever.
Yeah, for me, the way I look at it, there's every chance. They haven't deciphered the fixtures yet. In Dublin Super 8 group, it's going to be Dublin, the Connacht winners, and the Munster runners-up and the Ulster runners-up, or the team that beats them. So there is a situation where Dublin could have to play a Tyrone, a Donegal or a Monaghan at home, but they're not allowed to play it in Croke Park. So suddenly it could be Dublin against another Division 1 team in Parnell Park.
It couldn't be that.
It couldn't be. Surely not. So therefore, Dublin would then have to play a home game outside of their own county, which just seems ridiculous. The idea should have been that they can't play a neutral game in Croke Park, because let's face up here and let's address the elephant in the room. Croke Park is Dublin's home ground. It is one of their home grounds. People can have 2 home grounds. Kerry've got 2 of them, Dublin have got 2 of them, Parnell Park and Croke Park. If we face up to this idea and just not allow Dublin to play their neutral game in Croke Park, this situation will be avoided. But there seems to be a fear of actually mentioning Dublin in this motion, and Donegal have not mentioned Dublin in this motion. To be fair, that might actually help the motion to pass. So if it does get through, it's going to be very, very interesting. Just one final newspaper for me this morning. It's the back of the Sun. Here we go again, I should say. Pep looking on the plus side. They're up against Everton tonight, and they'll go top of the table temporarily if they win it.
Quick one here, sorry. The front of the Star, the back of the Star, City won't crack. It will be Regency Part 2. Events with top MTK boxer Tyson scrapped, threat of attacks over Kinahan link. This is the story that they have. Anti-Kinahan threats before boxing events. So Tyson Fury was due to speak at the Helix and also at an event in Cork, but both events have now been cancelled following anti-Kinahan graffiti. The Tyson Fury event has been cancelled in Dublin and Cork. A mechanism for refunds has been put in place. Details are online. There was minor criminal damage to the Helix, which has been referred to in Garda Síochána. So this graffiti actually happened at the Helix in DCU. So I'm sure you'll hear a bit more about that across the day. Now, another big weekend of GAA coming up this weekend. We've actually got a brand new Gaelic football show starting today at 12:30 across the off-the-ball platforms. Billy Joe Padden joined Joe last night to talk Tyrone. Last year's All-Ireland runners-up have had a fairly disappointing start to 2019.
Tyrone will be well conditioned come the summer. They're a physically fit team and they've good athletes, and they have 30 fellas of a high level that are already operating, at that level. And maybe that it's as simple as that. They haven't done a whole lot. Now there is a lot of talk about them trying to change their approach and be less reactive and a more proactive team that can take the game to opponents.
Yeah.
And maybe they are training that way. And sometimes it's hard to change your tack quickly, particularly when you're put under pressure, like they were against Mayo, when Mayo made such a good start after the initial 10 minutes and they just weren't able to react. And if you get caught between 2 stools, you can sometimes see passages of play like you described where no one really went to lay a finger on Keith Higgins as he just waltzed around them. And that's something that they will address at time once they get more comfortable to playing a more expansive game plan, if that's what they're doing. To be honest, watching the game, I didn't see too much of that expansive football, and to be honest, what I saw was them missing a fella like Colm Kavanagh playing that sweeper role to perfection and being in that area where they can break down attacks and then start attacks of their own. And I suppose the other thing that was a surprise really is that Tyrone really missed, and Peter Hart, one of their better footballers, kicked a lot of balls into the goalkeeper's hands early in the game, and it could have been a different game if they had kicked those, because it would have given them confidence and maybe wouldn't have allowed Mayo to gain as much confidence from getting that early lead.
Trevor Francis equals Teddy Sheringham, says Digger Forum. Is that right? Good call?
No. In comparison?
Yeah.
No. I'd have to say no. Teddy was like more one pace. Trevor had a real burst of acceleration, kind of quite dynamic in his movement. Teddy's a little bit more, what's the word? Laissez-faire?
Laissez.
Lassie.
I'm truly humbled that you would turn to me for the French pronunciations here, not Jared. Thank you.
Darren Cleary is with us, licking his wounds after the news that the Dubs might not get to play a cheating 2 games in Croke Park.
So complicated.
The fate of the 5 in a row is in the delegates' hands at Congress.
I'm so glad I have another Dub here beside me, because you'll be less anti-Dub with Kenny here.
No,
we could play out in St Anne's, but let's be honest, it doesn't really matter, does it?
No, it doesn't at all.
I mean,
good playing surfaces out in St Anne's, actually.
Decent playing surfaces.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense in fairness. Like, they should have done it from the start.
That's not being reasonable, Darren. That's not why we have you here. Come on.
The voice of reason.
Yeah.
That's not right. Come on.
There seems to be a bit too much
I will
reason.
not be baited here. No, I think it's fair enough that Dublin play 1 game in Croke Park like everyone else.
But what if they have to play a home game?
Oh, he's going to muddy the waters.
In Meath.
That's
at a neutral
ridiculous.
venue.
It's ridiculous. I do feel that the confusion, the anomaly that Dublin is the centre of the country and Dublin is the capital city. People are horrified and confused that there is a city that unfortunately tends to be the hub of what happens in this country.
Strong man, but go on.
It's true.
No one cares about that. That's not... Everybody knows Croke Park is Dublin's home ground. They play all their league games there. They play all their championship games. Parnell Park is like the local ground for local teams.
Why can't Dublin travel down to Páirc Uí Chaoimh and play there?
Because Páirc Uí Chaoimh is in Cork and the Dublin GAA team are based in Dublin.
But I mean, as a neutral game.
I've no problem with the neutral game.
Yeah, that sounds fair.
Like that, I think that's the solution here.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not now.
Well, have you seen the state?
It's too late now.
State of Porky Queeve.
Well, that and also
be rushing there.
The motions are set now, right? Effectively.
Yes.
Yesterday there was a briefing about what motions are going forward and what aren't. The Donegal motion that's going forward is that Dublin won't be allowed to play their home game at Croke Park.
Which is so disingenuous that Donegal are worried about the state and the integrity of the game at this stage when they voted for the motion, which included a Croke Park ground, a home ground,
I'm sorry,
and an away ground. No, it's not. They knew what the motion was.
The motion was the Super 8s are being implemented.
So they didn't read the motion, which clearly stated
so you're not
home
going to
game,
vote against
Croke Park game, away game.
They should have voted against the Super 8s because there's this one stupid part of it.
Well, the legislation is flawed. You don't vote to pass it. You rewrite it.
In the GEA, you kind of have to get these things through.
It's too late.
Rewrite it. I don't understand the confusion.
Then there would have been no Super 8s last year. I mean,
probably not this year.
Fair, but let's do it properly instead of half-arsing it. If there's going to be issues...
It was half-arsed. It got through and they fixed it. So fair play to Donegal for fixing it, I say. Right? You say Donegal are a shower of... not in my backyards. But anyway, what's going to happen is that this thing is going to go forward and everybody's going to pick the holes in it, right? The hole is that Dublin are going to end up having to play a home game in a neutral venue. It's stupid.
They won't have to now, in fairness.
Well, they could play Park.
My
Dublin are
understanding is that
the only team. Dublin are the only team in the Super 8s that will not have a home game next year.
Well, they will. They'll have the Croke Park game.
They will. They'll have a game in Croke Park.
Croke Park is the Croke Park ground. It's not a designated home ground.
But that's semantic. That's semantics.
Can I ask you one question?
The biggest draw in Leinster is Dublin, so it makes sense for Dublin to play in the biggest ground in Leinster.
Just one last question.
I'm confused by the amount of...
Where did Dublin play their home league games?
They play them in Croke Park and away, wherever they go.
So, sorry, you were saying...
But that's the cater for the demand. We don't have grounds the same size you have in Kerry. We don't have grounds the same size they have in Ulster or in Munster.
What's the capacity of Parnell Park?
Parnell Park might be 9,000.
Yeah, same as Ossenstack Park, where Kerry against Dublin is taking place this Saturday.
So, sorry, you said it'll be Dublin's choice. What did you mean?
Because it's their home game, so you can play your game wherever you want. It's up to their own county.
So why can't they play it in Croke Park?
So they'll play it in Parnell.
So that's what the rule is. The rule will preclude them from picking Croke Park as their own home ground. That's what Donegal have come up with.
Let's just take it around the country. Be like the Harlem Globetrotters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But the thing is, the Dublin fans love
just spread a bit of love around the country.
Football to the masses.
I would actually say the Dublin fans want to play their home league games in Parnell Park from now on, because you look at the crowd that was there last Saturday night and it was
16,000?
Yeah, that game would have been much better suited in Parnell Park.
I think the problem is there's not a medium-sized ground that will cater for Dublin, and they got the Spa outside. They initially wanted to build a stadium on it. They've gone down a different road. They want to put a centre of excellence there, and that's fine. But at the same time, if this issue about Dublin having use of Croke Park is going to continue, they probably need to find some address that's not playing our games in Munster or playing our games in Connacht or Ulster.
Just play don't have a Croke Park round, have a neutral round, and that game, if you have to play Dublin in Dublin's neutral round, will be somewhere nice, like Porky Queeve or
just not
Clonus.
That was the solution that should have been come up with. What would have fixed all of this is the Bertie Bowl. A medium-sized ground somewhere in Dublin.
Out to Abbottstown we go. I mean, what happened to the days where playing in Croke Park would be an honour for every county? And players would want to do everything they could.
Getting the shit kicked out of you by Dublin is no longer an honour, Darren. It turns out when you snub their faces in it like a dog in its own snot.
Well,
Kevin Cassidy did say it was an honour last year.
We nearly muddied the waters some years ago at Wimbledon. There was a big talk of we were going to come over and relocate to Dublin. Don't know if you remember.
Oh, I remember
that story.
Eamon Dunphy was your chief cheerleader.
Yeah, I mean, there was a little bit of traction back in the day. I remember speaking to some people at Wimbledon saying, we're going to push this. We think there's an opportunity here to make something happen. Yeah, never.
Would you have liked it?
Oh, amazing.
You'd have
Dublin
right on your doorstep.
A Premiership football team located in the...
And good for Irish football?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Obviously, that's a different type of argument. But in terms of like dropping a Premier League football club into the middle of Dublin, what kind of groundswell of support that would have got? I think that would have been a natural affiliation there. People would have... I mean, the Premiership product is huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
At that particular... It was just growing then at that particular time anyway. I think which would have been... When was that? 90s? OOs or whatever? Yeah, I mean...
Late 90s, 98.
Made a huge amount of sense, but I'm not exactly sure why. Obviously, it never happened. Would have been protesting on the streets, etc.
Owen would have been 4 years of age.
In his buggy, protesting on the
You know, if you're not protesting when you're in your buggy, when are you going to protest, Kenny?
The magic of the FA Cup hasn't been lost today because it's thrown up a dream for Newport County. Carlo Potter-Gammond scored as they shocked Middlesbrough 2-0. They'll now face Premier League champions Manchester City in the 5th round of the competition. Goalkeeper Joe Day didn't have very long to enjoy the victory. After the game, he found out his wife had gone into labour when he turned on his phone. Michael Flynn is the Newport manager.
He did turn his phone off. He was fully focused. I thought he was excellent tonight, and as soon as the whistle went, he's run up to me and said, "Can he go?" And I said, "Of course you can. Do you want a lift?" He sprinted off. It's the quickest I've seen him move, actually. But listen, all our thoughts are with Joe and Lizzie and the arrival of the twins, because if they come tonight, what a special birthday they'll have.
You have to call him Robbie and Podrick, wouldn't he?
Oh, I don't know about that. I wouldn't go that far.
Do you know she's gone into labour?
I don't know. But the way he sprinted off, I'd say there's a very good chance that she has.
Too many questions. The pregnancy there. I'm surprised he switched his phone on. You've just dumped Middlesbrough out of the FA Cup. The dressing room must have been absolutely bouncing. The last thing you did was go to your phone and switch your phone on. Your missus left a message there like, "Get your ass down to the hospital." That should get out of jail card, didn't it? My phone was off. Someone took my phone. My jacket went missing. It was mayhem in there, love, in the dressing room. I couldn't. By the time I got to the nightclub at 2 in the morning and found out where my phone was, that was the first opportunity I had the phone.
You'd have no hope to go to if he did that. You'd definitely be in the doghouse. Potter-Gammond not the only Irishman on the score sheet last night. Matt Doherty netted twice for Wolves. They came through a very tricky replay, eventually beating Shrewsbury 3-2 at Molineux. QPR secured a home tie with Watford by beating Portsmouth 2-0 at Loftus Road. Brentford ended Barnett's cup run with a dream 3-1 win, and the championship side will be away to Swansea in round 5.
Question here from Digger for Darren. Dubs fans say they spent the money wisely. Why is Parnell Park not fit for purpose then? Other counties had to upgrade their stadiums. Dubs had one ready-made in Croker. Kildare and Waterford got penalised. Why not Dublin?
Well, I would say they put their resources into developing people instead of places.
Well, they put the GAA central resources
into beautiful comeback, Darren. Love it.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Elevated the whole conversation there.
Whose money did they put into that?
People. It's all about people.
The GAA's money, yeah.
Yeah, people, buildings. You know, people over buildings.
Always invest in your people, Jer. Always.
I can't wait for your PowerPoint presentation on this. So corporate.
We've got one behind you there. Where's the blue wave? Used to be around the office. Man City could go back to the top of the Premier League tonight if they beat Everton. City will once again have close to a full deck to choose from. Victory in the clash will send City back to the top of the Premier League on goal difference after Liverpool drew their last 2 games against Leicester and West Ham. Man City still without captain Vincent Kompany. The Belgian defender has been ruled out with a muscular injury. No timescale on his return yet. Benjamin Mendy is being eased back in after knee surgery, but City otherwise have a fully fit squad. Everton midfielder Idrissa Gueye returns from a groin injury. The Senegal international was the subject of a rejected deadline day bid from PSG. He is likely to go straight back into the side, which will miss Phil Jagielka and Yeremina, who are both carrying knocks.
All right, Darren, go on.
Tyke Furlong says radical overhaul will not be needed to address the issues that cost Ireland against England. The Grand Slam dream dashed in comprehensive fashion. Ireland hammered at home. They'll train tomorrow as attention turns to that showdown with Scotland, and the Leinster man believes now is not the time to panic.
Look, losing games is never nice, but it doesn't mean you throw it all away either and you start changing things massively. I think if we get back to the accuracy that we can bring, we're confident we can bring the performance as well. And, obviously, you have to take the learnings, but you don't carry the hurt with you into this weekend and maybe try to do something you wouldn't usually do or whatever. Just go back to what we do well.
Now, Rory McIlroy has revealed he knew he would become one of the top golfers in the world even as a kid. The 29-year-old has spoken about a letter he wrote to Tiger Woods when he was 9 years old. The golfer was on Jimmy Fallon last night and revealed he penned the trash-talking note that warned Woods he would become the best player ever, he would beat him and to watch out for him. McIlroy had just won the 1998 Junior Golf Classic in Florida for the 10 to 11 age group. Woods was the world number 1 ranked player at the time. It's not known yet, though, if Woods actually got the letter. Investigators have launched an underwater operation to recover a body from the wreckage of the plane carrying Emiliano Sala and pilot David Botson. The light aircraft crashed while flying from France to Cardiff near the British island of Guernsey on the 21st of January. The shipwreck hunter hired by Mr. Sala's family found the plane wreckage on Sunday. The Accident Investigation Board have since retaken operations and they hope to recover the unidentified body, but have warned that it will be difficult because of the strong tides mean they can only use the remotely operated vehicle for limited periods during the day.
Darren, good stuff. Thanks very much for that. Now we will have our new signing in studio just after 8:30 this morning. First, a bit of football. The BBC's Phil McNulty joined off the ball last night to talk about the future of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Have a look.
And of course, his big success, and someone who you would almost regard as symbolic of what he's done there, is Marcus Rashford, who is in absolutely blistering form at the moment, the winner again at Leicester City. And you're right, it's a big month coming up for him. He's already making a great impression, I would imagine, on all the people behind the scenes in the boardroom at Old Trafford. If he can get them through to the next round of the Champions League by overcoming PSG in the last 16, and also there's a home game against Liverpool, if he can win that, then his case is really building. And funnily enough, now you look at PSG, when the draw was made and Mourinho was there and United were flat as a fluke, as it were, and struggling to win any sorts of games convincingly, everyone looked at that draw and thought, they're not going to do that. Now I think people are looking at it completely differently. Manchester United are in form, they're confident, and of course PSG have lost Neymar. So I think the emphasis has shifted there, and I think Manchester United will really fancy their chances over two-leg against PSG. If they can do that, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer can get them through that, then he will really strengthen his case. I mean, I'm not quite sure it's the done deal. Some people are saying whether in the end Ed Woodward will go for the big hitter in the shape of Pochettino, and whether Pochettino will then want it, or whether Real Madrid will want Pochettino. But certainly Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has done better than anyone could have expected.
Yeah, except maybe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Kenny, they've got to give him the job if he beats PSG, right? You just have to make a knee-jerk decision and put the future of this £3 billion company in the hands of a guy who's managed for 10 games. It's the right thing to do.
No, I take your point. I think they shouldn't rush into anything. I think they should stick to the set criteria which they publicly came out at the time when Solskjaer walked in the door. They're going to take their time. They're going to evaluate a number of candidates and eventually come to a decision at the end of the season. I still don't think he's the first choice. I still say it the same as I did when he first took the job. I think there's managers out there who would be first on their radar, Pochettino in particular, potentially even Allegri, those type of players. But I probably said at the time when he first came through the door, Solskjaer, his best chance would be if for any reason they couldn't extricate those managers from the jobs that they were in. And that may well be the case. I think the longer it goes on, I look at Pochettino, I think it's going to be hard to get him out there. At this moment in time, I can't see that one happening. Pochettino, I think he'd have to really kick his way out the door there at Tottenham. I don't think that's going to happen. His relationship is too strong with the owner, with the players and the club itself. And I don't think Tottenham would make it easy. So I can actually see the Pochettino one happening on a number of levels. So if that's the case, and United are snubbed there, and potentially one or two areas, then clearly Solskjaer comes into the equation. Is
that just like an evasion of hassle from a Manchester United perspective, though, where it's like we can't be bothered jumping through all those hoops that are required to get Maurizio Pochettino?
No, I don't think it is. I think it's simple in that they just literally the managers out there under contract, they simply won't be able to get. They literally will not be able to get. They'll need to receive a phone call from Pochettino's agents to say he's willing to come and he's willing to push.
Are you sure that none of those managers have an agent that is willing to push for their clients to go towards Manchester United? Because I would say Maurizio Pochettino's agent would want his clients to be a Manchester United manager, no?
Well, to be fair, actually in Pochettino's case, I'm not exactly sure he has an agency around him. He looks after himself. I think his brother's involved as well. But from having watched Pochettino over the past couple of years, I actually think he's a very loyal manager, and I think he's got a lot of emotional attachment to the football club. I actually don't think. I think he will leave Tottenham, but my gut feeling tells me if he does leave Tottenham, it won't be for another English club.
Real Madrid.
Yeah, possibly Real Madrid. I think he'll go abroad before he comes back to England. I don't think he'd leave. I think he'd feel as if he was letting down the Spurs supporters, and he'd be destroying the relationship that he's built up.
But if he values loyalty so much, why would he go to Real Madrid, where loyalty is like the bottom of their list of values, it seems?
Money.
No, but it's
like the money can be given from Manchester United as well. Like,
yeah, but it's a huge challenge. Yeah, it is
more, but it's not.
Yeah, it's a huge.
Much more.
It's a huge challenge. It's Real Madrid. The opportunity doesn't come along too often. He's already publicly gone on record. I don't know of another manager who's gone publicly on record early in his managerial career to say he would never manage Barcelona, and he did that because of his affiliation with Espanyol, their cross town rivals. That was an amazing thing to come out and say that you would never, on principle, manage Barcelona because your attachment was too great to their small town rivals. I remember reading that thinking, wow, that's somebody here who's actually quite principled. This is quite unusual. So because of that kind of mentality, with that mindset which he has, like I said, I think he'll find it difficult to step away from Tottenham and walk up to Old Trafford. All
right, we might get a chance to talk about this again, because obviously that decision's not going to be made for a little while now. Moving to rugby, Tyke Furlong was up for media duties yesterday, and he was asked to recall the bus debacle against Scotland back in 2017.
It's hard to say. I suppose if you look back, it was my first, I suppose, proper Six Nations where, you know, I thought I was starting the game, and yeah, we were in the dressing room. I think about we're pretty much in and out, and we're out to warm up. You know, it's no excuse either. You have to be expect the unexpected. It's what can you do? You know, you have to get on with it, and it's hard to say if it affected or not. But we definitely started slowly.
Were you going mad on the bus? Like, what was the atmosphere like on the bus if you were that late? Or did you know you were late? Did you know you were late?
I can't remember. You probably just tend to be in your own little zone in the bus, but I don't know.
Did you notice the bus wasn't going where it should be going? You've done that run before.
I've never done the run. I don't know. All I knew was we were getting the dressing room and it was a bit tight on time, so everyone threw on the boots and went outside, lad.
Yeah, that's Tyke Furlong talking about the bus issue. Our big new signing is here, Ronan O'Gara. Good morning to you. How are you?
Great, thanks. Hey guys.
Kenny says you've got a nice colour for you. You've come from another summer to the bleak midwinter of Ireland.
He was admiring my top. I don't know.
I was admiring a bit of respect for a man. I was a bit of respect for a man who puts on pink first thing in the morning.
yeah, I don't have much to say in retort to that, do I? It's not bad with a tan though.
Yeah, offsets it well.
Raj in February. Yeah, I like to think I can pull it off this morning.
The tan.
No, the pink top.
Pink. Yeah, of course.
It's hot in here too.
Well, you know, it's a big occasion, you know.
Tension with the being in off the ball.
There you go. It's not every day you join a team.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
yeah. So welcome aboard.
Absolutely, yeah, it's great. No, it's
what are you bringing to the team? How would you describe your talents?
Accuracy and precision. Is it? That's the buzzword this week, isn't it?
Apparently so. Yeah. They all got they all got media trained to within an inch of their lives this week ahead of.
I saw Earlsey this morning. Read Keith Earls. Thought it was really impressive.
Yeah.
Obviously people say I'm biased because he's Munster, but I admire a guy who, you know what I mean. Yes, it was his fault for shooting out the line, but like 100% my fault. It wasn't 100% his fault. Like Ireland were a pace off and everything at the weekend. Like if you get an inner fold and people come around the corner, Earlsey, yes, it was his fault because he didn't see Elliot Daly was there. So obviously we can leave, when you're defending you can leave the last to the 15, but Keith didn't see that there was an extra attacker, which meant he was leaving 2, which was the 2-on-1 running. So he miscalculated on the run, but like before that you're kind of banking on your teammates to get around or slow up the ball. So there's kind of 2 potential scenarios before that would help the team.
Couldn't get the England player down, was there? It was not in the lead up.
That was Vinopola got the offload, but
yeah.
like after that there's still an opportunity, like with spacing. But you know, I think that augurs well for this weekend. If the fact that it was kind of the last thing you want to do was kind of, I'm all right, Jack, I had a good game. They're kind of gone, we didn't play well. We realised we didn't play well. It's a collective thing, but at the same time, it's been, I think if we rewind to this time last week, we're talking about the most consistent Irish team ever, and all of a sudden, typical Irish overreaction there. I don't know, I think this is doomed.
Yeah. I'll talk about that in a minute, because Stockdale is an interesting example of it. But just how realistic is it that Earls was targeted physically? Like, is that an express thing before the game? Because he says he was hit twice. You know, he's not going to make a big deal out of it in that piece. It was a toe twice and he was hit again. So he's basically hit 3 times. 2 of them were late.
Yeah, and one was an absolute certain yellow card. Sometimes a case in some games, Ger, like I told you, doing that sometimes warrants red.
Yeah.
I don't think red was the right call, but it was definitely a yellow card.
Is it a coincidence that's...
No, I would say most definitely. So just on size alone, like you'd Stockdale at whatever, 6'4" on one wing, Henshaw 6'2", Earlsey's probably 5'11".
Yeah.
But he's a power athlete, so he's the most explosive with the best CMJ in the Irish squad. So the high ball is never an issue for him, and physicality isn't. But I think what people didn't bank on would maybe be the the front football England were getting and the precision that Farrell can kick consistently with, like he peppered them, like so. The other side of it too, even if he catches it, they were like, if that's the touchline, they was kind of within 4 meters. So like you hit, if he brings it into touch, it's like a knock on because it's possession, set piece possession to England, and then it's Tuilagi off the line out, isn't it?
Yeah.
And into Vunipola around the corner, into his brother, or phase 3, Itoje. So, am I right in saying it was the first time since 2013 that England had those 5 players, Tuilagi, Itoje, the 2 Vunipolas and Farrell on the same team?
Right, I didn't realise that, but...
I'm not on... Well, I read that, so that mightn't be fact, but like, what I take from it is those 5 on the team...
Different team?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different team. Like,
and they feed off each other so well as well.
They do, yeah, but as you say, if that's their hub, the 5 of them, it's world class. Genuinely, there's no... You know what I mean? You can't really pick weaknesses in it, you know what I mean? People
when you say world class, Darren, are you talking about in and out possession in the football? Because it looked, obviously, I was interested in watching the game at the weekend. We never seem to be able to break through the line at any point. In
and
terms
to
of
answer your question, it's overused, and I hope I'm very selective in that, in the fact that world class is a big mantle to give them. But those 5 fellas from England, I think, are. And they don't play like that every week, which is probably a contradiction in what I'm saying, because they need to be doing that every week if they're beating world class. But I think Itoje is hugely performing. The 2 Vunipolas, like 27 tackles for a loose head prop is uncharted territory. His brother is at number 8, he just makes rugby look easy because of his size and his power, and I don't know where his original heritage is from, but like I have a lot of Fijians in my squad down below, and they just love a ball. Once they get the ball, they just get different people, you know. If you ask them to defend, then it's slightly different, but like, to be fair to the Vunipolas, they put it in, and Farrell was you can see he's Andy Farrell's son, you know, that league background, he's hard.
Yeah.
And if you have hard as a basic ingredient, starting point,
he's also getting better, like the whole thing about out-halves, ageing.
And as you said, he has the age profile, and he's with, I think he's mentored by Johnny Wilkinson, I think, which is... I mean, with Farrell's probably obsession and Wilkinson's obsession.
I didn't know that. That's.
I think
like
maybe
is it kind of sporadic, or is it like?
I'd say it's probably not officially, but I think I was just reading a few interviews, and I think just in terms of probably the visualization and kicking side of the game, the mental side,
because it's got better. Like he's definitely. You can see that there are some games where he was always capable of putting that performance in, but there was always this weird thing where England weren't sure if he was their number 10. That's been nailed.
And I think that's the key point, sure. Absolutely. I think that's, like, for me, he's an average 12. People think he's a good 12. I think he's an average 12, a brilliant 10. And they've made that decision. But you look at all that run, when England went on, was it 18 games? It was 4 to 10, which is... I find it strange, but I think then they came unstuck. But I just think from an opposition's point of view, Farrell at 10, Tuilagi at 12, it's like they're beasts up front, and then they have a really, obviously 10 and 12, but I suppose it was the likes of Ben Youngs and Johnny May that kind of hit levels that I haven't seen them before, and I watch a lot of rugby.
So, if that England team always perform like that, they always beat that Irish team last weekend?
No, because as you know, sport doesn't work like that. You know, it just doesn't. If that game is played this Saturday after Ireland getting that belt mentally, it's a completely different game.
Mindset's different, the mindset, of course,
Mindset is huge. And that's not a cop-out, Ger. I think it's, like, I actually, more so maybe in other sports, rugby, the mindset is absolutely massive, because you just... It shapes you completely, and then I suppose you could say to me, well, they're such a good team and a consistency. Why was their mindset off? I don't know.
Because they were listening to us and everybody saying,
yeah, but
because they were listening to their friends.
I'm sure they weren't listening.
Because they were listening to each other.
I'm sure the media played absolutely no part in this. It's like, I often wonder, is there something you can do in the middle of a game to actually just try and just give it a kickstart in terms of a shift in mentality? Like, you had O'Mahony versus Sinclair at one point, and I thought, all right, here we go.
Yeah.
This is sort of the thing we need.
After 60 minutes, from my experience of playing sport, within 5 minutes of the game, you cannot arrest that momentum.
Right.
And that's me personally speaking. I think once you're in mid battle, it's too late. You're like the boat has sailed, because it's top class athletes going at each other, and once they have kind of, you could see like the body language in May when he scored.
Yeah.
Like the guy was pumped as if he was going into a boxing match.
Yeah, they were on.
You know?
Yeah.
And Ireland were a little bit, what's this about? A small bit spooked. And we had that multiplied by 50 in World Cup 2007.
The spooked?
Just
from the Georgia game?
From everything, Jar.
Right.
You know? Just meaning so much to underperforming. Shit, get onto the training pitch Monday, train hard, Monday to Friday, empty the tank, nothing there Saturday, another underperformance. That's game 2. We're looking at each other, how do we sort this, get on the training pitch, train the house down Monday to Friday.
Was training going well?
Not really, no.
Okay.
No, but we didn't, I suppose, maybe have, I don't know what figure or what manager in world sport would have the capacity maybe to kind of say, okay, can we look at this in a different approach? Guys, you might be potentially overtraining, you might be better off doing it, but that level of expertise wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, and hindsight is a wonderful thing, but we didn't have that.
So if you're Joe Schmidt, are you okay because it's purely mindset, or are you concerned?
I don't think it's ever okay with Joe, you know, in terms of, I got a little taste into him, and you know, I was in the tour of Australia in the first test they lost, and he was gutted, you know, and I kind of said, geez, you know, I'm involved in coaching a club team or whatever, but like the level of hurt for him was, it hit me. Coming when because I met him, I was in the foyer, and I didn't know that was a team hotel, and they came out, and I could see them just coming off the bus back into the hotel, and that's kind of a raw picture away from home, no supporters.
Yeah.
And he's all in, you know what I mean? That's the kind of character he is.
So what's he most worried about then?
I would say like a lot of us, I'd say he's probably shocked maybe at the manner in which, like, for me, I know Alan was saying it was 4 points after 65 minutes. I didn't feel like Ireland ever had that game under control, which at home is bizarre. What has happened there previously, like I could tell you after 5 minutes of the All Blacks game that Ireland, they have this, they're on. And at this weekend, even though Ireland went ahead from Johnny's kick to the corner and Cian Healy getting into score, it just felt like there was going to be another wave from England, because with their first attack, they dented Ireland that we haven't seen in a long while.
Yeah. So, is he concerned about the fact that it was?
Sorry, I didn't answer.
So easy for them to defend. Sorry, so easy for them to breach our defence. So easy.
I would say everything. I would say about. I would say about grabbing the initiative. I would say there'd be a big emphasis on that. You know what I mean? England probably just seemed to be, you look at the ball off the pitch, the first line out happening within 10 seconds of Conor finding touch, it just seemed that they mentally and physically had a jump, which is very unlike Ireland, because they're always kind of first set. They take pride in kind of their values being kind of ahead of the opposition, and it seemed like that Ireland were kind of tailing England in a lot of departments, which if you go to Murrayfield,
yeah,
this is there isn't a ground in the Six Nations now. I'd say that it's a tricky game Saturday.
Well, that's what happened the last time. They got 2 early tries and the game was effectively over when we got laid off the bus. So you've got to start this game well.
Well, especially over here. You mightn't win the game in the first 20 minutes, but you could lose the game. You know what I mean? So, like, if Ireland stay within 1 score of them, everything is fine. But you go back 2 years ago, within 30 minutes, it was
Was it
3 tries? Or there was
yeah,
two,
I think it was maybe 2 penalties and a try, was it?
Yeah, like the thing is, that's the first half an hour of the entire Six Nations that season. We saw what happened in the first 90 seconds of the Six Nations this season. Is there a thing where we just need time to build into a Six Nations championship?
All the evidence probably points to it, but like from a, I suppose, a sporting point of view, you can't really have that, because it's going to be Scotland in the World Cup. You know what I mean? With respect, you can't kind of build into that. You've got to be gung-ho for that game. And then there's a bit of a taper off, isn't it? And then go again. But, like, so you can't... No, I actually think it's what you said. Like, the mood in Ireland was like, how many points are we going to beat them by? And the English crowd were kind of saying, I hope we don't get hammered.
Yeah.
And everyone fell into that. And the players then, it reminded me a small bit of... kind of Munster-Leinster 2009, when Leinster had been just their noses rubbed in it for 9 years.
That was exactly, it was like, oh my God, they're going to kill us today. What's going to happen?
Yeah, and we didn't put them away in the first 10 minutes.
You can't be too critical of the players, though, from a neutral perspective, in terms of around the level they've been playing now for such a long period of time. It's been such a high level in terms of focus, concentration, the tactical setup. Game in, game out, they've been reproducing that. It's almost like they'd have to be human. At some point, a manager, you demand certain standards at all times. This is the level we're at. Nobody drops below that. But in the back of your mind, as a manager or coach, you'd obviously know better than me. You must almost anticipate at some point there's going to be that little drop ball. It had to be coming. I mean, the lads wouldn't be human.
Yeah.
And we're only talking like small percentages. It wasn't as if the lads went onto the pitch lackadaisical in terms. Obviously, the intensity had dropped off 5-10%, and against a team of that quality, that's what can happen. But I mean, tactically, was there anything wrong with tactically in terms of performance? You looked at it and thought, we've got that wrong, or was it just that fundamentally, that big fundamental in terms of that intensity levels, that focus just wasn't quite there, and everything came from that?
And the key point probably wasn't just quite there. You know what I mean? I think you've nailed it. But like, if I say he's sticking up for the players, and you know what I mean, he's looking after the IRFU, or he's looking after the management by me saying it, but like, the consistency levels of this team has been incredible, and they've driven it to whole new standards. Like, there's only been 1 year or two when they've won the Grand Slam, so they've won all the games. So we've seen this scenario before, but maybe it's because it's fresh, or it was the manner of the game, but it seems like there's a massive overreaction to this. But the flip side of that is they got to get their preparation right for the Scottish game, because it is a potential banana skin, because Scotland, you know what I mean, have new confidence, and usually they're confident, but I don't know why they are, because they've nothing to back it up with, because their two teams are now in the quarter-final of
a great style of play,
and fair play to them, you know, and I think they have a lot more variety and probably ambition to their newfound status.
Before we get on to the Scotland game, I just want to bring this graphic up. So this is a tweet from the other day from Noel Sliney. He says, Ireland have lost the last 20 games in which they trail by more than a point at the last time we won a game by trailing more than a point was way back in 2011. Is this an issue? I mean, okay, so that's obviously all against good teams, but if you're more than a point ahead of us at half-time, you tend to win the games. We have a style of play that's kind of a front-running style of play, where we suffocate you and then you try and play and we capitalise on your mistakes.
I wouldn't even say that, Ger. I would say Ireland are so accurate. They're the best ruck team in the world, so they put such emphasis on the ball carrier and the two nearest fellas to kind of recycle the ball, which entitles them to kind of find holes. But we didn't find holes against England, and I think it was, what's the word, the possession game was, what's the word, when it's made to look worse. What's the English for that?
You just said it.
It was made to potentially look worse. There's a good word for that I can't get it. We need Joe Malloy for that. So in the fact that, because
exacerbated?
Brilliant. It was exacerbated in the fact that we moved slow ball.
Right.
Hence we lost the gain line even more, so and continue to do that, because the ball carrier is kind of the most important man when you're playing a huge emphasis on possession game, and that has worked for Ireland for, as Kenny said, for the last 5 years, because they've been so accurate around that. and all of a sudden they get a weakness in the defence, which means they're on the front foot, which means Connor is walking onto the ball, Johnny is running onto the ball, hits the centres or else plays out the back, gets to you look what happened at the weekend. It was England had brilliant spacing, their tackle was good, their back end of the tackle, which slowed up the ball, is absolutely crucial, which a lot of people neglect. It's not the front end of the tackle, you got to get the back end of the tackle, which means if Kenny's coming into me, it's that kind of, the initial wrestle is one thing, but can he kind of present the ball on my side of the gain line or on his side of the wrestle? If I can kind of get him to go back, it means that England are able to kind of creep forward. The Ireland attack kind of have to go back a little bit, which means that they're not on the front foot.
Yeah, forward momentum. Like,
correct, and just you could see that even. Like for people, the rugby nerds out there, in terms of like Farrell being able to kind of just little by accelerate into his kicking game from a walking start, but like to actually,
that split second is all that matters.
Well, it's very easy in the fact if you're not static, if you're static, everyone comes at you. But if the defence are even backpedaling a tiny little bit, it's the difference between being a sprinter start or a kind of a. You know, I mean, you know yourself, for all you going back to your GA days in the warm-up when you're kind of jogging backwards, you know? It's a bloody hard thing to do.
Yeah. Well, is that why there's been such a reaction to this? Because that seems like the type of thing that any other team can look at us and go, ooh, that's the template now that England have given us. It's not like England scored 2 breakaway tries and stole the victory. They controlled the game the whole way through. I think that's why people are so shocked by it.
Yeah. I agree with that, and I thought the, you know what I mean, a pass of Slade's quality deserves to be rewarded, and his forward momentum, you're taught as a young boy to get a second touch. You look at his acceleration into the pass, people are saying it's a forward pass. For me, it's a perfect pass. Winger catches his chip. Simple things. Yeah. Simple things done well. It's kind of, for years, you know what I mean, that's what you see in a black jersey. You could have been, you know what I mean, Frank Bunce to Lomu, chip, try.
Yeah. Do you need those 5 world-class players that you started this conversation out for England? Like, if England play like that with their second string, if they go out, do they still win that game?
Who's the second string?
Whoever's next. So so you take take the 2 Vinipolas out. We're going to see Itoje's gone. Like, their second row still pretty good this week.
Yeah, the second row is, obviously you can. The key man, I think, is Farrell. Just because if he's not in the team, the others are.
Maybe just about replaceable.
You know,
I guess I'm worried about, are other teams looking at that, what England did, and even with a lesser talent pool, are they saying there's a template to beat Ireland?
Template is one thing, Joe. The reality and practicality of implementing is completely different. We're talking about tiny margins. I think that's the key point that Kenny has made here, and the fact that if you're a small bit off, you know what I mean?
The collective is huge.
Correct.
Do you see any parallels between this year and, like, looking at the fixture list? 2000 seems like quite a similar year. It is the first time we played England in the first game of the Six Nations.
2000.
We were talking about it earlier on because it's a strange coincidence, but it's also a strange coincidence from your point of view, because 2000, the first game, we got absolutely spanked by England, and then you start.
Well, I had a medial ligament injury, but that's small margins make big diffeces, you know.
But week 2 with Scotland as well.
But sure, if I played in that game in Twickenham, I mightn't have played again. You know.
Do you think so?
That's how. But sure, that's how brutal professional sport is. You know that you could have confidence is absolutely key, and if I played that game, it could have been a different story. But
were you due to play it? Was it close?
Yeah, but I kind of medial ligament is it's a nasty injury for a kicker, you know.
Yeah, it's horrible.
You got it. Yeah, it is a horrible injury. It's
takes your confidence away. One of those injuries.
Oh yeah,
it sounds strange. Yeah,
it's a horrible feeling, you know. Just it feels like you have your upper leg and then your lower leg, and it's intact by an elastic band. Literally, you feel like it's the one time in your life when you feel like if your leg isn't connected, it's that horrible an injury. And then you have a 7. And back then, obviously, the 7s were. It was a little bit like your point is probably well made. It was a little bit like the weekend when Curry had one job, was to just mess up Sexton. that was what his role was. It was old school, get in his face, make sure he knows you're there, and be just a nuisance to him. It was a good Shane Jennings performance, Munster Leinster going over the years, you know. But you just have the Scotland game, obviously there was 5 changes, wasn't there, for the next game?
Yeah.
In 2000.
Brand new halfback partnership, yourself and Stringer.
John Hayes,
Shane Horgan, Simon Easterby.
I think Mick Galloway was dropped for the England game and was brought back in for the Scotland game, and then you absolutely spanked them 44-22. I think the most points Ireland has ever put up in the 5 or 6 nations, or at least in a long time.
We'll go with that. So
we'll go with that.
That was a better team.
He's done the research. He's done the research.
That was a better team than this team. Nah. I think
it was a better Scotland team than perhaps the Scotland team. Who knows? Like, he hadn't beaten them for 12 years at that point.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, geez, no, I don't know what to say to that.
It's more kind of to do with the idea that you wake up, you go into the Six Nations, and then suddenly, after the first game, there is kind of a sense that, oh, Jesus, this thing has started off terribly. That there is, because there's so few games, that you suddenly feel this is all over. But actually, the second game is so important. There is still the live possibility of a championship.
Well, yeah, you're right. It kind of, it confirms or completely smashes your thoughts from the first day out. So, as you like, the key message from the 2 weeks into the round 1 is all about momentum. So there'll probably be, you know, on Sunday morning, if they're all Saturday games, there's 3 teams that have won, you know, unless there's a draw. So these 3 teams are absolutely feeling great and cannot wait for round 2. And then there are 3 teams that are dragging themselves literally off the floor and going, well, if we get beaten this weekend, this is a horrendous place to be. And that was our mindset a lot in Irish camp, because we had lost 1 game plenty of times. But the challenge for the current group now is to as Kenny has said, to trust what they have been doing all along. But performance is one thing, but in this competition, it's about result this weekend.
What do you remember about the build-up to that game in 2000? So, like, is that the type of thing that you remember forever, or is that just
yeah,
it does, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's
when do you know
easy now that we're out the other end of it, right? But sure, that's what you dream of.
When do you know you're getting picked?
A fair idea from kind of
halfway through the England game.
not
going so well.
You just fight in our day. We think it could have been overhead projector, you know, with the kind of the black and white, and this side. We'll just go with this group in the jerseys and this 15 in the bibs. And
there's always indicators there on the training pitch during the week, isn't it?
Came back to bite me though, that one.
Did it?
Like that was the for my final game. I was in the jerseys on the Monday night.
Right.
And the Tuesday morning I was
into the bibs.
On the road to Cork.
Had a bad session.
No, actually a great session, but something went on. But I won't forget it.
Wasn't you leaving the hotel on the Monday night, anything like that going on, was it?
No. It was just I missed out. That was it. End of international career, over. Brutal. You know, it'd be different if you kind of see the team on a Monday on the overhead projector and you're kind of in the bibs. Then you kind of know, my goose is cooked here.
There was no conversation though. There was like a...
No, I was in the team, definitely trained well. And then between 2 and 6 p.m, something went on.
What do you think happened?
Team was announced. I'd love to know.
Were you the only one who changed from non-bib to bib?
You didn't turn up Tuesday morning for breakfast in a pink t-shirt or anything like that. Found yourself on the couch an hour and a half later.
This is what professional sports people, this is the end of international retirement.
Was your body telling you mentally you can be in a different place per week? Could you take a step back round, like physically, in terms of where you were, the level you were at? In terms of being honest with yourself?
That wasn't an issue, I think. It was probably... Well, there was an injury in the team, so Johnny was out. If Johnny was there, it's a complete different set of, as you said, thoughts in your head. then you know what I mean, it's no debate. But it was Paddy Jackson to start and
Ian Madigan on the bench, or
Keatley.
No.
Who?
Don't know.
I don't know. So you were out of the match day 23.
Oh yeah.
All right. Right. What the hell happened?
I don't know.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Because it means so much, you know. Playing for your country, on the bench for your country, and obviously it's going to happen to everyone, as Kenny says, and at the end is brutal no matter what. But this was a little bit different in the fact that it was.
We did a roadshow, I think, in Cork, and you said you got a phone call when you were at the Gruffalo.
Yeah.
Was that after that, or that was before that?
That was.
Or was that the explainer for that?
No, because the Gruffalo was on a Sunday afternoon show, and I got the call to meet the coach that afternoon, but I didn't need to meet him. I knew what the phone call was, you know.
Yeah.
So that was because I had to play the Ospreys on the Saturday night, and I played well. So yeah, I don't know, Ger.
Okay, so that which we'll get that timing again, but
yeah, exactly.
But there was no communication, like, because it's mad when you're in the team and you know when the pattern is so well established that the team is effectively quietly named to the players and everybody's preparing accordingly, and then when that pattern gets broken, that's chaos for everybody because it means that they can't trust what's happening as well. So that's the type of thing that goes through a squad, right?
To actually take you out of the team environment, though, for me is an interesting one. You obviously know better than me, Ronan, and obviously very senior figure, influential figure around the team. So in terms of whether you actually start, to actually take you out of the team environment, I'm thinking from a teammate's point of view, you know, regardless, we say a senior player of some standing, like huge amount of respect amongst his peers, the other players there, to actually remove that player. For me, there's a ripple effect to that. It's not just about yourself and your own personal situation. It's how that's perceived by the rest of the players within the group. And for me, that's almost you're putting in very much a negative vibe in the dressing room, because there would clearly be an attachment in a relation between you and the other players there.
No, to be fair, I gotta clarify the Gruffalo conversation. I'm recalling this in fairness to Decky. It was. I'm giving you the heads up, you're not in the playing group, which is the 23. So do you want to travel to Dublin? In fairness to me, he didn't want me holding a bag, as we'd say, you know, being kind of the numbers 24 to 32 if I wasn't up for it. But I said to him, no, I'm ready to go here, you know.
Yeah.
I said, I don't need any special treatment, but he was considering the fact that you're going to be you know what I mean? I'm going to be naming a team and you're not going to be in it. Are you going to be okay with that? I said, yeah, that's...
You're ready for that? That's
what happens.
Yeah.
Did you feel scapegoated at that point?
No. That's never ever came into my mind about that. You'd be bitterly disappointed, obviously, but you know what I mean? There's probably a lot of history there between the two of us too. So,
is it a crappy thing to say that this is actually something worthwhile going through now that you're a coach? Like if you'd never become a coach.
Absolutely brilliant,
it's the type of thing you'd be like, ugh. Now you're like, okay, I can see a little bit of that. I might have to do that sometime.
Yeah, it's exactly it, Ger. That was on so many other topics as well for the last number of years. You know what I mean? There comes a time when you're kind of number one for a long time and it's brilliant and you're just such a competitor. Then you're kind of number two and you're kind of gone, you're not accepting that. And you're kind of going, oh, well, I'm going to have more impact than Johnny is now in my 10 minutes off the bench. That's the competitor in you. And then there comes a stage when you're kind of like hanging on, as Kenny said, just at the end, and you kind of know like that father time has got you, but you need to just dig in there because it's representing.
It's a difficult one, it really is.
And it's even harder for the coaches, you know, because players coming to the end are delusional. They think they're way more important to the squad than they actually are. But like, you cannot question that because you need competitors. And if they kind of convince themselves that they're finished, they're done already. So it's such a delicate balancing act. And you know what I mean? The one thing that...
Were you delusional at the end?
I don't think I was around long enough. If you consider, I probably finished with Ireland in March, wasn't it? And finished my career in May. So I was lucky in the fact that I probably just got out, so-called, at the top. That the option then was kind of, you become a journeyman and dig in for 2 years at Munster and dilute, hopefully, the positive image people have of you. But there's fellas have done that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I just thought, I've got so much out of this. This is so good. Go, get out. You know, you've had your time.
Yeah, because your last big game was the Heineken Cup semi-final that year when you nearly beat Toulon in Toulon.
No, nearly, exactly, Claremont, in Montpellier.
Yeah.
Yeah, a great game.
An amazing game. And one of your best games. Like, you played really well in that
exactly,
game.
But you had to too, because I kind of knew. I got great advice from a good mentor of mine saying, it goes, it's amazing how fickle people are. You'll be remembered by your last 3 games. So I was fired up. Like, I had to, kind of, the way Ireland had gone, it was like, you got to show that there's a bit of fight in you, you know?
Yeah.
You got to show this. And then Munster, obviously, it's just the competition that means so much to you. And, you know what I mean, full of fans, full of, you know what I mean, there's something special as a player going playing. It's seen as the norm now, but you remember kind of back from 2000 on, from that playing in Europe, in France, especially with Munster, was always a cracking game. And we got bet out the gate once or twice, that's it, yeah. Jeez, this looks like it's staged, but it's not, isn't it?
No.
Yeah, that was it. Paulie, that was it, because Paulie got abused from everyone, because remember he had before that week, it was kind of, he had a clash with Dave Carney, and...
That was that week, right, okay.
And he ran onto the pitch and before the warm-up, and the whole ground went, boo!
Oh, wow.
He did his usual lap across the 22 and goal line, and we kind of just crossed, and I put out my hand, and he went to kind of hit me, and he nearly just ripped the arm off me with the intent in him, you know, because that guy is, you know what I mean, there's no one like him really to play with. I'm biased because of the days we had, but like that day was just like from the warm up to the game, and we weren't as good at them, Jar, but we nearly found a way to win, and we should have won.
Yeah,
you know, it was classical Munster, a little bit of kind of take it, and then kind of counter attack.
Yeah, it was brilliant,
and it was a good game. You know, it was a bloody good game, but.
It's very interesting when you look at the way your career ended versus how Paul O'Connell's career ended. Which situation would you have rather have taken it? Like, it seems obvious that your situation is better. You kind of had a more controlled end to the career. But I guess with an injury and...
Yeah, it's great actually, the fact too that how things work themselves out, you know what I mean? People probably feel you get hard done by, but you didn't get you know what I mean, a day in the sun. And I'm staggered, like, because I left Ireland in 2013, and when you come back, like, it's amazing the people, you know what I mean? Even in Dublin, like, walking around, you kind of just, people make you feel so good about playing for Ireland and what you did. I'm genuinely taken aback, maybe because I don't live here, you know?
It's like interesting as well that you say you didn't want to dilute your relationship with the Munster fans at the time. Like, I'm sure the Munster fans would still say that to you even if you played for another 5 years in the red jersey. Or do you really think that would actually impact your legacy?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
If you're being honest, you know? I just think that, you know...
They wouldn't just remember the good times?
They can't, though. You just can't do that. You're being dishonest then, you know? I just think that's... Then you're dealing with kind of bluffing territory, and, you know, I think...
Didn't you used to be?
Smart people can call it, you know what I mean? They can make their own opinions and things like that.
It's almost impossible, I think, for a top quality athlete round, and people say, why don't they get out at the very top? And it's an easy thing to say, and I kind of understand it, but in another way, it's an impossible thing to do.
Yeah.
As a player, to go out at the top means to go out when you're playing at a level which is up there. We know that kind of, you know, that kind of feeling when you're playing at that level. There's nothing better, totally control of what you're doing. How could you ever expect an athlete to step away at that level, experiencing those feelings and playing at that level, being in total control of what you're doing? It's almost impossible to. You need to experience that little kind of drop off, which I did in my career for a number of years. It just dropped off in terms of your physical condition, can't get around the pitch, you know, your reaction times aren't quite, you're not influencing the game as much as possible. A kind of hollow feeling inside that you can't perform at the level that you want. That makes the decision a little bit easier. You've got to recognise that quickly. When that little drop-off comes, well then, but to actually say, oh, Maisie never got out, for me it's impossible. It's almost an impossible thing to do, to step aside.
It doesn't make sense to give up the thing
exactly.
Really
I think for me the trick always was when you feel that drop off, that fundamental, you get, and you know, I remember a couple of games, playing in a couple of games, and it just straight away I was thinking, oh, I just can't do it. Just arrive in a split second, like maybe not getting exposed so much, but you're just not getting the reaction times. Your body's not, your body's not reacting as you want it to, and then that kind of sobering thought that, well, this is it now. I've got to make a decision at some point now. I just can't. Particularly when it comes to the international setup, so much at stake. I mean, so much to people. You can't, you can't allow that drop off. It's too important to everybody.
Yeah, the only thing with that, I suppose, would be that if you had a really good team and teammates, and it was, as you said, I haven't come across it, but if it got to a stage where there was a guy 37 and he was kind of obvious to a lot of guys, I think it would be a mark of respect for his teammates to kind of go, do you reckon it might be time to,
Yeah, you don't want to come to that from a personal point of view. You never wanted to come to that.
No,
you should be the one who preempts it and actually walks out the door. I played like Ronan. I played 2 years longer at an international level than I should have. The big regret of mine that I didn't step away one championship earlier, probably 2 years before, because the level of my performances in the last couple of years for I wasn't good enough. And it's a massive regret.
I think you can only say that because of after the event. Because if I pose this to you, right? So you step away that 24 months. You can imagine your mindset then, or you at home around the kitchen, kind of going. You see the boys playing that first game when you said, "I'm well up to this." You'd eat at you for the rest of your life. At least now I think you can take satisfaction.
No. I know everybody's personal situation is different, but I remember at the time you get a lot of encouragement from people to stay on. No, we need you this, and that's a great thing that you're saying about the reception receiver. I know it's great. Those type of things. Now you've got a role to play. You're important. Boom, boom, boom. It's the kind of thing you want to hear, and it means so much. Representing your country. It's the last thing you want to do, to kind of step away from your greatest memories with an Ireland jersey. But from a personal point of view, for me, looking back, my time was 2 years too late. It was a big regret that I didn't step away. That kind of that bit of a tapping in the back of my head, Ken, there's a drop off here. You got to recognise I ignored it for too long.
And you're the only one that can call it. I can remember I didn't intend to retire in my last game for Munster.
Oh right, you were going to go another year?
Well, I was kind of, and then literally I'd final play the game. I kind of caught Nigel Owens' eye, I caught Donncha Ryan's eye, and I kind of just kind of said, yeah, get out. It's weird.
A split second is that?
Yeah, get out, because and like you see there, it wasn't intended. Like, it wasn't my kids were there obviously hoping that we'd win a semi-final, or I don't know how many kids I had at that stage, but you know what I mean, it wasn't like this is the, I mean, to be fair, like a Munster semi-final, it's a good day, but it's not the farewell you're looking for to announce your retirement. But no, because it was just something at the end of that game when you just kind of said, yeah.
Fair play, that's what I'm talking about. That little tap, and you recognise that, like, you know what I mean?
Weird. Literally, you're chasing a game and you're absolutely gutted, and then imagine the, I suppose, the being overcome with that kind of amount of thoughts in your head. Semi-final just gone, and you're done with rugby. But it just hit you. Just never before the game did it come into my head, but just kind of said, yeah, go, walk, you're done.
That's incredible. So, like, you didn't even think at the time this might just be the emotions of the game running to my head?
No, I just knew something told me. It was, I had kind of emptied the tank to kind of had a go at Ireland, showed basically that, you know what I mean, I was well able to do it at European Cup level. But it was at that stage, where's the up after that?
Was there a minute of regret afterwards, ever? That you called it at that point?
I don't know, Ger. I mean, I regret try and tease me out here in terms of
the next season in October.
Absolutely horrendous. But like what made it easier was moving city, moving
no doubt that you made the
country.
right decision though. When at Racing that first season, was there ever any temptation to go, here, listen, the lads are injured, put me in?
Oh yeah, Yeah.
Did it come close to happening? Was it a conversation?
Yeah, kind of nearly registered, but what an error it would have been. Thankfully it didn't happen, you know, because you're just delusional, as I said. I can do this, you know.
I think,
what are you going to do?
I think the delusion that you have at the end of your career is the same delusion you have as a 7-year-old and a 9-year-old and a 13-year-old that makes you practice harder than everybody else. I think it's that letter, that bullshit letter that we were talking about earlier on, that Rory McIlroy writes as an 11-year-old to Tiger Woods going, I'm going to be the best golfer in the world. It's delusional, but he made it happen, and I think all of you guys at some point you have that delusion, and it's a grand delusion that actually you can make it, and you do make it, and that's why I think you have a right to be delusional at the end as well.
Yeah, it's probably, it's interesting. Well, you got a dream, don't you? But then you got to know.
I think once you step onto the coaching side, what I would say, I draw a line there. I think once you take the step into coaching, get your coaching hat on. I've seen a couple of ex-players go into like part-time manager's role, and even on the training pitch with the players, just can't help themselves, joining in the keep ball, the little five-a-sides.
Who are the coaches that do that?
Disaster. Mick was the worst.
Was he, yeah?
Mick was the worst in terms of couldn't stay away. Yeah. And I mean full on. Mick would come in, you know, Mick, in terms of how he committed. And Mick was like 40 years of age, his legs have gone.
When you're gone, you're gone. But that's it.
Yeah, but this is
find it so hard.
Can't leave it alone. Just even in terms of a train-up, you were talking about potentially stepping back into a competitive game. Even in terms of a forward, it's like being physically unable to stand on the sideline, having to like involve yourself. Amazing.
There's an argument Mick's legs were gone when he was 25. Very quickly, Ringrose and Toner are gone for the game this weekend. Ronan, Ringrose is kind of a key from a defensive perspective, also our best attacking player last week.
Yeah, our best 13, yeah. And I probably need to be a little bit stronger maybe in what I was saying, because I probably left people in the air a little bit about what would I pick. I think I was going for a midfield of I like to keep Bundyaki at 12, Ringrose at 13, with Henshaw at 15 for the English game, on the basis that Rob Kearney was kind of injured. But if it was a World Cup quarter-final, Rob Kearney would be 15 in my head. And that's where maybe I didn't clarify, but you seem to get it straight away. I would be kind of like that he has been, irrespective, I think, best I put this, if Henshaw went well at the weekend, last weekend, and went well again this weekend, then it's a positive for Ireland and there's a decision to make. But Rob Kearney was going to get another go. Yeah. I think people are forgetting that.
I thought that was all about the 31 and who's...
Yeah, fair enough, but sorry, in
you know, that this is, do I need to bring an extra full back?
On the TV at the weekend, there was kind of, we've kind of moved away from Rob, but I don't think that's, I wouldn't do that. I would think that, you know what I mean, he played poorly one game for Leinster.
In his comeback from injury.
Yes.
Like, that happens.
Yeah, absolutely, but so I think he's obviously the number one, 15. We were looking at who potentially is the next 15. But now that Ringrose is injured, what's going to happen? I don't know. Are they going to go Henshaw 12, Aki 13, Rob 15, or
Chris Farrell?
Yeah.
Let's see a bit of Chris Farrell.
Straight into 13. Like, it's his better position than 12 as well. Like, is this the opportunity for Chris Farrell that the Rob Kearney run of form has been for Robbie Henshaw at 15?
Yeah, you could. I would, now that game and the Grand Slam is over, couldn't you go keep Henshaw at 15 to see what it looks like? Farrell, who was man of the match in the last time he played in the Six Nations game, wasn't he, against Wales?
Yeah.
Getting a go at 13 and
keep Aki at 12.
Keep Aki at 12. Then if you're looking at a World Cup scenario, they could go, are they going to move Earlsey into the centre? Is that what's going to happen in the World Cup if there's an injury in game? Or are they going to put Jordan Larmour on the wing or Conway on the wing? Will Addison, is he going to come in? Or we've seen a lot in November. He was really good, but games are running out before he wants to go to Japan, isn't it?
And Earls is fit. So
Earls is fit, raring to go, and Earls is you know what I mean, is Ireland's best winger. People can go on about Stockdale and his phenomenal season last year, but like, everyone else, I back a fellow who's done it for 8 years or 10 years in a row than a guy
who's peaking as well. He's like, his defensive capabilities, his attacking capabilities, his technical proficiency is at a level that is higher than anybody else in that team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Look, we're nearly done, but just a reminder that if you've just tuned in, Ronan O'Gara has joined Team Off the Ball. That's not a bad debut, Ronan. You enjoy it?
Yeah, it was great.
Are you going to go out at the top from Off the Ball as well?
One eye only.
But you've guys in their mid to late 60s, haven't you? So I've a lot to aim at.
Yeah, it's going to work. They've launched this new Rugby X. Our Rugby X team wouldn't be bad at the moment. Yourself, Brian O'Driscoll, Alan Quinlan, Keith Wood and Johnny Sexton. That's not a bad five-a-side.
Oh, it's like the English team.
Well, listen, we're really looking forward to it. When you're back down in New Zealand, we get to talk about what life is like down there. It's pretty good.
Looking forward. Yeah, kind of having the back of my head. First game against the Blues Saturday week, so I'm plotting against the midfield of Man Anu, Sonny Bill Williams and Ricky Ioane. I don't think in the history of rugby you'd have a 12, 13 and 11 as physical and as big as that. So if any guys out there have some good back plays, I'm all ears. Or
you can hit us
playing a rush defence against them, or
you can hit us up on the hashtag OTB AM. We'll share all those. Ronan, good stuff and welcome aboard. Kenny, great stuff today. Thanks very much for joining us as well. The Gaelic Football Show kicks off today at 12:30. Off the Ball's back on the radio tonight from 7. We're back tomorrow morning live from 7:45 AM. Good luck.